Hello everyone, welcome to Deacon's NFL Talk. I'm your host Deacon, and welcome back to another episode on the channel, episode 46. This week might be a big episode because not only do we have like three pages of NFL news to get to, which are all big topics by the way. We also have multiple topics of quick hits to get to. This might be the most quick hits we've ever had on the channel. And then after that, we have Flashback this is an older Flashback. In case you guys didn't know, Flashback is a newer segment that we started last week. But this Flashback is a little bit older, but it's one of the best takes, if not the best take I've ever made on the channel. Then we're also introducing a new segment called WOW, W-O-W, stands for why, or what or why. So that's a new segment we're going to start doing. And then we have a question of the week. I cannot wait to get into this week's episode of Deacon's NFL Talk. Alright, everyone, we're going to jump straight into this one. So, to start off, we're starting with the Packers are expected to move on from All-Pro corner Jaire Alexander. This is actually a big topic to get into. The biggest reason why Green Bay is likely moving on is because of his inability to stay healthy. In case you guys didn't know, he is on more the injury-prone side of things. I mean, when he is healthy, he is 100% one of the best corners in the league. One of the best defensive players in the league, and it is unfortunate to see like how often he does get injured. I mean, it's not like really bad or anything, but like when he gets hurt, he misses a lot of games. It feels like. So anytime you have a player like that and is getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars, which Alexander deserves if he can stay healthy, then obviously if you're the Packers, if he can't stay healthy and we're paying him a whole bunch of money, then there's really no point in keeping him. But Alexander missed 7 games this past season, making it 2 back-to-back years, missing at least 10 games because of injury. So that is really not something you want to experience as a player and as an organization. Like anytime you have a player like Jaire Alexander, who's is going to be one of the best free agent targets this offseason for sure. I mean, I don't know. I think his contract is expired. So we'll see. Maybe the Packers can get some more maybe draft capital or a replacement from a trade. We'll see what we'll see what the Packers are looking for in a trade, or possibly they might just end up cutting him. But according to Rob Demovsky or Demovsky, multiple team sources have privately expressed their frustration with Alexander's inability to stay healthy and or play through injuries. So that's another thing. It's one thing to stay healthy. It's another to be injured and just kind of decline playing every single week. Like let's say this is something that I experience a lot for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it feels like I always stub fingers really bad for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but it hasn't happened in a while, thankfully. But I always stub my fingers really, really bad, and they almost feel like they're broken, but I always just stub them really bad. I mean, I am a sports person, so really the only reason I stub them is because I play sports and everything, like at home, but I just remember there was this one time I did it, and it was like a week or two before I started baseball season, so then I was like, okay, we'll see how the finger is before baseball, and like the day of, it was like a little bit tender. I could definitely feel it, and I just decided to play through it. So I mean, obviously, finger injuries is like obviously injuries in the NFL is much worse than what you would get, like just at home or wherever, because I mean you're getting hit by like you're getting hit by like big guys. I mean it's not like you bust your finger on just a object or anything, but I mean. This isn't really. This is kind of just an example. Like, you can play if the injury is not severe. I mean, I'm not saying that Jaire Alexander needs to play through a torn ACL or anything, but like for my ends, like for what I said, if you have a stub finger, play through it. You'll be fine. And I'm not saying that he's gonna not that he's weak or anything, but I mean team sources have privately expressed their frustration with his inability to stay healthy and play through injuries. So, I mean, that's never a good sign. But, I mean, we'll see what the Packers do if they end up trading him, cutting him. I really don't know what their plan is here. They haven't really expressed what they're going to do yet, so we'll see sooner rather than later because free agency is coming up. I believe it's like March 12th or something. So it's coming up. It's really close to that time of year, and it's going to be a very very entertaining offseason, I should say. The second topic, Aaron Rodgers says he will play in 2025. This is something that I'm not really shocked by. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers, and, like, you can't end on a bad note, okay? I mean, Rodgers was cut from the Jets last week saying he pleaded to remain with the team, which obviously doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know about you guys, but it just doesn't make sense. Why would you plead with a team when they're just going to cut? Like, I feel like this was an easy cut for the Jets. I mean, you're 41 years old. You just came off a torn Achilles. I just don't understand why the Jets would keep him. Maybe just to help, like the young quarterback that they might draft or pick. Maybe they'll pick up a guy in free agency like Justin Fields or something, and then Aaron Rodgers can help out with that. But the Jets said they still believe Rodgers has some football left in him. I don't know. That is actually very, very debatable. I actually don't know if Aaron Rodgers has much left. Maybe a little bit. I would say some is a little bit above what I'm thinking of. But the biggest question is if teams are willing to sign the 41-year-old, because that's the thing. Anytime you're an aging quarterback, especially 40+, I mean, anytime you're over 40 years old, obviously, not only will your ability to play the game affect how you play, it'll also affect like how teams look at you. I mean, if let's say you're 41, like Aaron Rodgers, but you play like Patrick Mahomes, okay, that's one thing. But it's another thing to be 41 and act like play your age, okay? Aaron Rodgers, I think he plays his age. I think he needs to call it a career after this season. I'm actually still surprised that he's still playing right now. But I mean, yeah, coming off a torn Achilles obviously does not help. I honestly don't have any hate against Aaron Rodgers. I really like the guy. I mean, he's a guaranteed Hall of Famer, a Hall of Fame lock, if that's what you want to call it. But there's no doubt that he's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. But it's just a matter of time where you have to hang up the cleats, like kind of like Tom Brady did. Tom Brady went out, retired, came back again, and really did not look good at all. And then eventually called it a career, like for good. That's literally what he said. I'm retiring for good. So we'll see. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if he'll go down the same path that Brady went, but we could see him like play through his like mid-40s and then call it a career. I believe Brady played till he was probably 41-ish. I don't remember how old he was, but he was like mid-40s, I think. We're going to go on to the third topic. The Bengals plan on signing Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson to long-term deals. As a Bengals fan, I honestly don't really know what to think about this, really only because I really don't trust the Bengals front office at all. Even as a Bengals fan, I feel like I should, but I just don't trust them at all. I really don't. Like, Higgins will likely be tagged, which for me is like, it's like, who said this? I feel like someone on ESPN said you can't be selfish. I mean, obviously not, but you can't just tag Higgins a second year in a row. But Cincinnati is working on a long-term deal, or so they say. But with their front office, it's like, who knows? Like, they're so unpredictable, and they're really not. I don't even think they have a GM. I don't think they have an owner, Mike Brown, and really that's about it. He's the owner or whatever. But we need a general manager that's actually really, really solid. But if the Higgins does sign a tag, the Bengals will pay $26.1 million to keep him from hitting the market. I did read, I don't know if this is true or not, but teams, after signing the tag and once free agency is up and running, I believe there's teams that can actually discuss with Higgins if they can beat out the Bengals $26.1 million if Higgins really likes a deal from a team, and I'm pretty sure he can just sign with that team, and the Bengals would get 2 first-round picks. I don't know if that's 2 first-round picks for next year's draft or a pick from this year's draft. Like, let's say the Patriots, for instance. Let's say the Patriots, they get T. Higgins, however it works, the non-exclusive franchise tag, and the Patriots owe the Bengals 2 first-round picks. So this year's draft, they have 1 first-round pick. So I wonder if they would trade that first-round pick so that pick number 4 would go to the Bengals, and then sometime next year they'd get 2 first-round picks as well. So I don't really know how this works out. But as a Bengals fan, I feel like it's a win-win in a different way. On one hand, you get to keep T. Higgins, who's the best receiver in the market, and not even the best receiver, but the best player on the market right now. And when he's on the field and healthy, he's a really good complement to Jamar Chase. And if Higgins can stay consistently healthy, then he's going to be one of the highest paid receivers in the league. High risk? Did I say that? I said highest paid receivers in the league. On the other hand, you get two first round draft picks. And if it's this year, that's even better because you get pick number 4 and pick number 17. So with pick number 4, you could get like a defensive guy. Like you could get, if Abdul Carter is there for some reason, even though I think he might end up with the Titans, you could get a defensive guy or maybe a receiver to replace T. Higgins, like Travis Hunter if he's available at number 4, or a Tedderoi McMillan, which I think he'd be more available at 17 than 4. But yeah, it's a win-win in a different way. But I'd rather keep Higgins for sure. So we'll see what the Bengals do with that. But for Jamar Chase, I mean, he still has another year on his contract. But I mean, they should have paid him last year because now they're gonna have less cap space this year than they like. If you already paid Jamar Chase last offseason, which would have been much cheaper than this year because he's coming off a career year where he triple crowned with 127 catches and 1,708 yards and 17 touchdowns. He's predicted to become the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL and wants around $40 million a year. If you sign Chase to a 4-year deal, 40 times 4, that is a lot of money. I mean, $40 million a year, that's roughly $40 million a year, somewhere around that. That is a good amount of money. That's $160 million through 4 years. And that is like market shattering. Like, that is like a massive deal. And if you paid him last offseason, which probably would have been around, what would it be, like $100 million, maybe a little more, maybe $115 million. It would have been around maybe a little bit at or a little under Justin Jefferson's current contract, which is $35 million a year. So obviously like $5 million under that, and that's a lot of money. So I feel like the Bengals should have done that last offseason, which would have saved them a lot of money. If we would have signed Higgins or Chase last offseason, this offseason would have been much more flexible than this offseason because it's a really important offseason for the Bengals. However, on Hendrickson's situation, it is similar kind of to Chase's, but he is like making $18.6 million a year compared to the market's $30 million a year. I mean, Hendrickson still has another year on his contract, so it's kind of like Chase. They both want to get paid. Hendrickson said, trade me or pay me. That's quite literally what he said. But Hendrickson finished with a league-leading 17.5 sacks for the second straight year. So anytime you're a defensive end making like much less money than the actual market, and you lead the league in sacks for 2 years in a row, then you deserve to get paid a lot of money. I feel like Hendrickson could get $25 to $30 million a year, which would get him a really solid contract. We'll see what the Bengals do. I really don't think they're going to pull this off, only because the Bengals front office is straight out bad, and they don't know how to handle anything. But anyway, we're going to do the fourth topic, I believe. The Rams have a high asking price for Matthew Stafford. The Rams are not interested in bringing in a veteran QB, whether that's Matthew Stafford or Aaron Rodgers. They're just not interested in bringing in a veteran quarterback at all. Stafford wants a new contract and intends to play in 2025 after he said he'll think about what he'll do after this season. I think he has more football left in him than Aaron Rodgers does, I think. I mean, obviously he's not as old as Aaron Rodgers, but I feel like Stafford has a lot more football left in him. I mean, he has dealt with multiple injuries since winning the Super Bowl against the Bengals. He's dealt with a head, elbow, hip, and thumb injuries. That's 4. I did 3 for whatever reason. And contemplated retirement after this season, like I just mentioned. So yeah, I mean like I said, he has a lot more football left in him than Aaron Rodgers does. I feel like that's not really an argument. But the Rams want a youthful roster built through the draft, or so they say. I don't know whether that's picking up Justin Fields or actually like quite literally drafting a quarterback in this year's draft. I mean, this year wouldn't be a bad year to do it. Obviously, it's not like last year's draft class, which they had so many talented quarterbacks. This year has a lot of depth compared to last year's. I mean, the first 2 first-round quarterbacks are Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, and potentially Jalen Milroe if the teams are trying to get stupid. But for the second, like mid rounds, there's like Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, Jackson Dart, Dylan Gabriel. There's a lot of good depth in this year's draft class compared to last year's, where it was just first round picks like all over the board. I mean, Stafford is set to make $49 million in 2025 from an extension he signed through 2026. So that is a really massive extension. And like I feel like he's a little bit, he doesn't quite deserve that money. I mean, I'm not saying that Matthew Stafford is bad or anything, but I feel like he should be making at least $30-some million a year. He is aging, obviously. Anytime you have an aging quarterback, there's less interest. I mean, I have seen some things about the Giants potentially being linked to Matthew Stafford, so we'll see where he ends up this offseason. And if the team does trade him, there are some options to replace him. Like I said, Justin Fields might be linked as well. There's a lot of solid quarterbacks in free agency, so we'll see if they go through the draft like they said, or if they'll go with a quarterback in free agency. We're going to go on to the second to last topic. Cam Jurgens is to undergo back surgery and is expected to be back for training camp. This is really good news for the Eagles. Obviously, if you guys didn't know, he played through back pain and helped his team win the Super Bowl since the NFC Championship game, I believe. I think he injured it against the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. So that's just straight toughness. I mean, if you have a guy like Cam Jurgens on your team, like that's the guy. That's the exact opposite of Jaire Alexander. The toughness. I mean, obviously, the Packers weren't even near close to the Super Bowl. I feel like that would have changed things. But yeah, anytime you're playing in the NFC Championship game or overall just a conference championship game or a Super Bowl, you're gonna want to play. And Cam Jurgens, who replaced Jason Kelce, is really not disappointed. I mean, despite the injury, since the NFC Championship game, he's only allowed 3 pressures on 40 pass attempts. All of that dealing with back pain, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me. I feel like the toughness these days is not as good as what it used to be. I feel like a lot of people are just weaker these days, I feel like. Maybe that's just me. Maybe a lot of people are soft. I mean, I feel like that's kind of how it is these days. I could be wrong, but I mean, that just shows you like how dedicated to his team he is and his toughness. Like, this is the kind of guy you want, not only on the offensive line or anything. This is the kind of guy you want at any position, like that personality, like that. What's the word? I can't think of the word, but you just want that kind of guy in the locker room. I mean, he made the Pro Bowl in his first season starting at center, so I mean, that is very, very good. But yeah, this is like straight toughness. I mean, the good news is that he will be back for training camp in July, so that's always good. I mean, you won a Super Bowl, you made the Pro Bowl as well. Not that that's really an award anymore, but I mean, your career is going great so far. But we're going on to the last topic and the main topic of this week. Zack Martin calls it a career after 11 seasons. This is the biggest topic of the week. I mean, Martin had surgery on his ankle, which ended his season. He was a 9-time Pro Bowler, with 7 of them being first-team All-Pros, which is tied for the most, tying with Hall of Famers Randall McDaniel and John Hanna. That is impressive. I mean, we're talking about one of the better offensive linemen in the league, no doubt. This was actually an option for the Bengals. Zack Martin to Cincinnati was a huge option, which I would have loved, even though he's getting older. But he surrendered. This is what's insane, and even though since it's a career high, it makes it even more insane. But he surrendered just 5 sacks, which is a career high. Not very many people can do that. Like, that just shows you how good he is. And he was just held to 6 holding penalties throughout the year. Just 6 holding penalties and 5 sacks. You're trying to tell me that that's like average for Zack Martin, above average? 5 sacks allowed in a year. Not very many people can do that. This is one also, kind of like Aaron Rodgers. Zack Martin is a Hall of Fame lock. I would not be surprised at all to see him go to the Hall of Fame. He is going to the Hall of Fame. I'm not going to try and jinx it or anything, but he is going to the Hall of Fame, and there's no doubt about that. But Martin played 10 games this past season, the fewest since 2020. So it really just shows you how healthy he can stay as well when he missed 10 games in 2020. But man, this is, one of the greatest careers in the NFL. I mean, he's going to be missed by the Cowboys and the entire NFL. He's one of the best guards to ever do it. Like I said, Hall of Fame lock, no doubt. and wish him the best at retirement. Before we go on to quick hits, all right, we're gonna check and see if there's any more NFL news before we get to that. Not quick hits, but NFL news. Let's see. The NFL salary cap is going up. So I don't know what. So NFL salary cap projected at $277.5 million to $281.5 million per team for 2025 season. So that's a lot. That's a lot more. I mean, sure, it's only like $4 million extra, but I mean, it's still $4 million is a lot of money. Anything in the millions, even the hundreds of thousands, that's a lot of money. But I mean, yeah, this is really good for the Bengals. If you guys didn't know, I'm a Bengals fan. But anytime the salary cap increases, that's very, very good because now the Bengals have more room. And I just saw they cut Sheldon Rankins, which even frees up more cap space. It frees up $9 million. So we have about almost $60 million now in cap space. So, I mean, the Bengals have no excuse anymore to, like, say, oh, well, we tried signing this guy and that guy, but it didn't really work out. So the Bengals have zero excuse now. I mean, they cannot make things up anymore, okay? There's no hiding at this point. We're going to go on to quick hits. I'm going to pull up the timer here. So this week, actually, I don't know how I'm going to pull this off, but there is actually quite a lot of quick hits, and they're not really that short either. So we're going to go to quick hits. I might as well take a drink before this one, but here we go, all right? Quick hits, 4 pages of it, something like that. I don't know how I'm going to complete this, but we're going to try right here. So, we're going to start in 3, 2, 1. All right, here we go. Ravens guard Ben Cleveland arrested, faces DUI charges. Cleveland was pulled over in Milledgeville, Georgia around 10:25 p.m. when seen swerving in between lanes. The officer smelled alcohol in the vehicle and Cleveland's eyes seemed glossy and was soon transported to a local jail. Bengals signed punter Ryan Rico to a 2-year deal. Rico kicked the longest punt in Bengals history, 80 yards. Only Corey Bajorek has recorded a further distance at 84 yards. Rico pinned opponents inside the 25 out of 53 times, and he is under contract with Cincy through 2026. Joe Mixon won't be fined by the NFL after criticizing the refs. Mixon was originally fined for something he didn't say, then fined for something he did say, and then now he won't be fined at all. Mixon said you can never let the game get into the refs' hands, referring to the team's loss to the Chiefs in the divisional round, which is why they fined him. The NFL found out that he never really criticized the officials and his comments, so they took away the fine. Panthers signed quarterback Andy Dalton to a 2-year contract. Dalton had 5 starts in 2024. After he got injured in a car crash, Bryce Young took over and remained the starter in 2024. Chargers to host Sao Paulo, Brazil game in Week 1. The Chargers will be played in Corinthians Arena, home of the soccer team SC Corinthians, and will play on Friday night. Last year, the Eagles and Packers played the first Brazil game in the NFL. Brazil has the second most fans internationally at 36 million behind Mexico, and the opponent and start time will be determined once the schedule is released. Eagles promoting pass game coordinator Kevin Patullo to offensive coordinator, replacing Kellen Moore. Patullo and Sirianni were on the same coaching staff in Indianapolis, where Sirianni was offensive coordinator and Patullo was wide receivers coach and eventually pass game specialist. Sirianni has now worked with 4 offensive coordinators since becoming the Eagles head coach: Shane Steichen, Brian Johnson, Kellen Moore, and now Patullo. 7 men charged for burglarizing Mahomes, Kelsey, and Burrow's homes. Oh, that is time. Oh, we almost had it. We had what? How many? 1, 2, 3. We had 4 quick hits left. We almost had it. We were so close. But before we move on, I want to get to that Joe Mixon one. It might not have made sense that I was reading it so fast. But yeah, Joe Mixon won't be fined by the refs at all. So let me get this out. Mixon was originally fined for something he didn't say, which is absolutely, how do you just mix that up? And then fined $25,000 for saying you can't let the game get into the refs' hands. And now they found out that he never criticized them, so now they won't fine him at all. What a wild sequence! Isn't that just wild? Yeah, like, you gotta figure that out. Anyway, we're gonna read these next 4 off. Not as fast, but we're gonna read them off. 7 men charged for burglarizing Mahomes, Kelsey, and Burrow's homes. All 7 are reportedly from South America, Chile actually, in South America. A complaint filed in Tampa, Florida says they stole more than $2 million and faced 10 years max in prison, and they robbed their homes while they were playing away games. So not all at once, but I think they robbed Mahomes and Kelsey's when they were playing the Saints. Actually, that was at home, right? It might have been. I can't remember. And then they robbed Burrow's Ohio home when they were playing the Dallas Cowboys. Eagles quarterback coach Doug Nussmeier leaves Philly to rejoin Kellen Moore as Saints offensive coordinator. Nussmeier and Moore have worked together for the same team since 2018 with the Cowboys, Chargers, Eagles, and now the Saints. I always do 3 for whatever reason. Nussmeier was drafted by the Saints in 1994 and as a quarterback and will now be offensive coordinator for the first time. John Feliciano retires and doesn't rule out coming back. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Feliciano retired after undergoing knee surgery. He wants to join a playoff team, likely the Bills or 49ers, since those are his former NFL teams that are in playoff contention right now. Feliciano played for the Raiders, Bills, Giants, and 49ers in his 10-year career. Second to last, Chargers defensive back Elijah Molden agrees to a 3-year, $18.75 million contract. Molden gets $13.5 million in guarantees and was sent out over to LA in 2024 before ending his season with a broken fibula in Week 12. He was sent over by the Titans. He finished 2024 with 75 tackles, 3 interceptions, 7 deflections, and 2 fumble recoveries in 12 games. And last one, Saints hire Brandon Staley as defensive coordinator. Staley was with the Saints. Staley was with the Chargers with Kellen Moore when he was offensive coordinator with the Chargers in 2023. And the last time Staley was defensive coordinator, he was with the Rams in 2020. All right, so that is all. We're gonna check and see if there's any more last-minute NFL news. We're gonna be way over time at this episode. Honestly, at this rate, we're gonna be well over time. We still have flashback, wow, and question of the week. I'll get to that wow segment in a bit. But here, let's see if there's any more NFL news out there. I'm just gonna check really quickly. Let's see. I don't think there's really been much. Bills James Cook is looking to break the bank with a new contract. Bengals released Sheldon Rankins, who did absolutely nothing. That might be it. Let's see. The Cardinals are intending to be active in free agency to help build around Kyler Murray. And that's about it. That's really all that I'm seeing right now. So we're going to go on to flashback. This flashback is, like I said before the episode, this is probably one of the best takes I've ever made on this channel, if not the best. And it was about Michael Penix, okay? This is an older take, and it's because I'm starting to go through episodes now and find takes that I made to help kind of grow this segment out. But here it is. I'm going to let you guys watch this clip of last year about the draft. I'll play it here.
We'll see how he does because Raheem Morris is a defensive guy, obviously. I mean, he was defensive coordinator. So we'll see how he does with the Falcons on offense because I feel like the Falcons is on offense is, I mean, both sides of the ball really for the Falcons. But I mean, if we're talking, I mean, I'm currently doing mock drafts because I have absolutely nothing else to do with the Bengals season being over. So I've been taking forever. But let's say, I mean, a bunch of people are saying that the Falcons get offensive lineman, defense, or something like that. But let's say, what if they get a quarterback? I mean, because this is one of the deepest quarterback classes in the NFL, in NFL history, arguably. I mean, one of the deepest quarterback classes. I mean, you have Caleb Williams, who, in my opinion, is going to be a draft bust, but still, he's got talent. Drake May, Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy should be in the conversation as a top quarterback. Bo Nix, I mean, you name it. This quarterback class is insane. I mean, it's filled with talent. I mean, you fill it to the very top. I mean, the talent is next level with these quarterbacks. I mean, I have one mock draft where a quarterback doesn't get taken until the third pick, and then I have a mock draft that goes 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks. I mean, this is an opportunity for the Falcons because, in my opinion, in my mock drafts, I have the Falcons getting Michael Penix. I think Michael Penix could definitely be there for the Falcons. I think he'd be a very good pick. So we'll see. Because I think definitely they need to do something on offense, get them a better quarterback. Desmond Ridder did not prove his point, and if you want to give him another chance, I think you still got to draft a quarterback. Because I mean, you can't waste your pick on I mean, a good edge rusher would be fair. You can't waste your pick. I mean, especially if you're not going to get quarterback. This is a deep quarterback class, so I think the Falcons got to go quarterback.
As some of you may know, last year whenever I did my mock draft, I said like I was shocked by whenever they took Michael Penix, and that's after I was like on Dallas Turner and on that hype train. But I was listening to this yesterday. I'm just kind of go through episodes and trying to find takes that I made that aged or didn't age well. And I was listening to this yesterday, and I was like, that may be the greatest take I've ever made. Even though I didn't stick with it, that may have been the greatest take I've ever made. Not even on this channel or on recording, but ever that I've ever made in my life. I'm not gonna lie, I can't believe that one went right, even though I eventually turned on it. But still, I thought that was pretty crazy. But anyway, we're gonna go on to this segment called Wow. It's actually WP. It's kind of like OBJ, like kind of scratch that. Okay, it's called Wow, called WOW, like what or why. So it's kind of like initials. It's not like the word wow, it's the initials of the letter or of the word. So what or why is what it's called, wow for short. And my wow question for this week is why aren't the Bengals just signing T. Higgins to a long-term deal? As a Bengals fan, just sign the dude. He deserves $100 million. Just do it. There's teams out there that are more desperate for wide receivers than the Bengals are. Like, I forget who said it, but you can't be selfish. I mean, as a Bengals fan, I want T. Higgins to stay, but not on a franchise tag for his whole career. Who wants that? You're taking less money to stay on a franchise that really is not capable of signing anybody, or you can go to a new team that is willing to sign you and pay you $100 millions of dollars. As a Bengals fan, I do not want him to leave, but if he's going to stay, then get this man a deal. Like, I'm not going to be satisfied if T. Higgins is staying here with $26 million and a franchise tag. Who wants a franchise tag? Who wants that? Like I said, as a Bengals fan, I want Higgins to stay so bad. I really want him to stay. I love T. Higgins. I'm really glad that he's on the Bengals. It's just like, can we at least pay this dude? I mean, we should have done this last offseason whenever he requested a trade, which I'm not really surprised he did. Now this year, he's kind of stuck in the same thing again. He's getting tagged again. It's said likely. The tag isn't official yet. It is yet to be announced. They said it's likely to happen, but it hasn't happened. It hasn't quite happened yet. I don't know if it will, or if they'll keep on tagging makes sense to kind of save some money for this offseason. But there's no excuse now that we have like $60 million in cap space now. If you're not going to sign him this year, then you're going to lose him next year. Like, it's now or never for the Bengals. T. Higgins is number one only because he's a free agent. Number two is probably Trey Hendrickson because he wants a deal or trade. Number three is Jamar because he still has another year, even though he still deserves to get paid. But I mean, the Bengals just have to be much better at what they're doing than what they don't know what they're doing. That's the thing. Like, their front office is like the worst, one of the worst in the league. They don't even have a general manager, and it's like, can we like be smart for once? Okay, sure. Last year, tagging T. Higgins was really good. It was really good news. It was the best news that we heard all offseason, pretty much. And now we're doing it again? Are you kidding me? Like, are you serious? Like, we can't keep doing this. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about this. If you're like a Titans or like a Patriots or whoever you're a fan of, and you're in the contention to get T. Higgins, obviously you're upset. I feel like it's worse for Bengals fans because they have to go through this exact same thing over and over again. It's just like, can we sign somebody? And Burrow is willing to restructure his contract. Like, let's not take that out of play. If Burrow's willing to do it, do it. Restructure his contract. He doesn't care. All the Bengals want to do is throw money at one player and let everyone else just leave. Like, Don't let it be like Carson Palmer. I actually saw this earlier in the week. Carson Palmer, the Bengals didn't get star players around him. So Palmer eventually requested a trade to leave the Bengals, and then he eventually left. We cannot have the same thing happen to Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow is much better than Carson Palmer was, in my opinion. So we need to, kind of what the Eagles do. They have so many really good players, but they manage their cap space really, really well. They know how to handle it. And so that's exactly what I want the Bengals to do. I don't think they'll do it because, like I said, it's the Bengals, and they don't have a front office. So, I mean, we'll see. Somebody prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. I want to be wrong on this one. But let's sign T. Higgins to what he deserves, okay? All right. Before we go to question of the week, we have the quiz. The exact same numbers as last week. Only this time, you guys got it right. The question of the week, or the quiz, was which NFL team has the most Hall of Fame inductees? The Bears, Packers, Steelers, or Cowboys? The correct answer was the Bears. That's the exact same percentage of last week's, which is actually kind of insane. I think. No, actually, no, I'm wrong. Sorry, no, I was looking at the wrong thing. It's not the same as last week's. For whatever reason, I thought it was. But the Bears was the correct answer. 38% of you got that right. Cowboys, 13%. Steelers, 25%. And Packers, 25%. And the Bears, 38%. At some point, it was at 31%. At some point, I was actually close to getting second straight. But eventually, you guys pulled off another victory. I'm pretty sure I only have 2 or 3 correct quizzes that have gone in my direction in the win column for me. One of them being a trick quiz, and 1 or 2 of them being just a regular one. So, but yeah, that is the quiz. The question of the week was who will sign Justin Fields this offseason. There was a poll this week in the community post. Make sure to vote for that. I'm gonna start consistently doing quizzes and question of the week polls now. But 23% of you would go to the Giants or another team, and 77% of you said he would stay with the Steelers. The only reason I put Giants is because right now he's the favorite to go to the Giants, and more than any other team, so I put Giants or other. Steelers makes sense. I feel like I saw that the Steelers are split between Russell Wilson and Fields, who they want as their quarterback. So, I mean, we'll see who the Steelers lean towards. I feel like the logical thing to do would be Justin Fields, but I think the Steelers might go with Russell Wilson. We will see, though. I mean, there's no locked-in answer yet. So we shall see who the Steelers decide to lean towards and who they will pick up. But yeah, that is the question of the week, and that is the episode. A little bit over time this week. But yeah, I want episodes to be 30 minutes at 30 to 40 minutes at max. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this one, check out last week's where I talk about the Eagles spoiling the Chiefs three-peat Super Bowl. That one is a great one. I highly suggest you guys check that one out. And yeah, that's really about it. Next week, we are starting signings and cuts, which is something I'm going to start doing this offseason, throughout the offseason up until September when the season starts. So we're going to start getting back into that. But yeah, hopefully we can start having episodes as good as this one. I will see you guys next week for another great episode on Deacon's NFL Talk.